I'm Matthew McCabe. Welcome to Miracle Voices. Each episode, we will be delving into stories of forgiveness, healing, and transformation that have come about from integrating the principles of the book, A Course in Miracles. If you want to learn more about A Course in Miracles, visit www.acim.org. If you'd like to visit the Miracle Voices site, please go to www.miraclevoices.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit us at miraclevoices.org/donate. All donations go to support the work of the Foundation for Inner Peace, the publisher of A Course in Miracles. Now here's your program. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Miracle Voices. This is your co-host, Matt McCabe, and I'm here with my co-host, Tam Morgan. Tam, how you doing today?
I am doing so well. I am so excited about this guest who we'd wanted to have on for a long time.
Yes, me too. Tara, I said it wrong. Tara Hollander, welcome to Miracle Voices.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, and hello again, Tam. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yay.
Tara, where are you sitting in the world right now?
So at this moment, I am joining you all from San Rafael, California. So that's in Northern California, just north of San Francisco, and where Tam is.
And she does emphasize at this moment because you tell him, Tar.
I am I guess you would call it a digital nomad because I do not have a home. I house sit with my husband and we go from one place to another place to another place. And we've been doing that solidly for 7 years full time.
Wow, I can really relate to that. You're trusted house sitter.
Yes, trusted house sitters.
Yes.
As well. I mean, do you ever house sit without taking care of pets?
There was once during COVID where we were going to house sit, but they took their pets with them to their second home. So we had 3 months where we were house sitting without any pets. Otherwise, we are always with pets.
Which is an extraordinary thing to think of for 7 years, and they get 2 weeks at a time, sometimes a few nights at a time, sometimes a month at a time. But it is such a lesson in trust. It's extraordinary for 7 years. Imagine that.
High degree of adaptability, too.
That's right. And it was a big journey to make the leap to full time because it was then you needed to experience I do not know where I will be in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks or in 2 months, and to be at peace with that. And that was a big practice. And it was really extraordinary when we just jumped and said, we're doing this. We're not flying home to Maine. We're staying out here and something's going to show up. And it always has.
Yeah.
Wow,
it kind of goes in some weird partnership with I do not know what anything is for. I don't know why, but they partner beautifully. I do not know where I'll be, and I do not know what it is for.
And are they mostly in Northern California, or are they all over the place, the house sitting?
So we focused on Northern California. However, we first started house sitting in Europe, in the Mediterranean. Our first house sit was in Cyprus. And then we had a house sit in Greece. And then we realized, wow, this is quite amazing. Why don't we try this where our family is out in the Bay Area? And so then we had our first house sit in San Francisco, and then we went back home to Maine, and then we got more house sits in California. And so in 1 year, we flew from the East Coast to the West Coast 3 or 4 times. And we said, why are we going home? So then we didn't. But we also house sit in Hawaii. And we've branched out to a little bit of other regions in California besides just the Bay Area, but generally speaking, the Bay Area or Hawaii. But we've also come to think of it, we have also house sat in New York City because we have family there as well. So really our commitment is to these extraordinary animals and to being near family. And when we're in California, we're not just near family, but near where the Foundation for Inner Peace's main location is.
Gosh, This is crazy to think these lifestyle options are available. It's just, and you're going to great places too. It's not like
Yes.
Yeah.
And working remotely. Like I never remember her schedule. And so it's like, where are you? Are you right next door to me in Mill Valley, or are you, in Hawaii today? And it's always a surprise to me because I have no memory, and Tara's very kind to repeat about 10 times wherever she is each day.
Yes, I truly feel nothing but gratitude for this opportunity and this lifestyle.
Okay.
Tara, why don't you tell us how A Course in Miracles came into your life?
Well, thank you for asking. It's quite a journey. It started probably around 2003 or 2004, actually. Although it was on in the library shelves of my husband, who had many, many spiritual books, and he knew about this book and was given it back in the 80s. But it really came to my attention when I first met Judy Scutch-Whitson, Am's mom, of course. And we had been coming back from an International Transpersonal Association conference. And we met Judy because of a very dear and close friend of ours named Richard Danielpour, who is a composer. And my husband was a mentor of his, and he had written a work called Journey Without Distance, which was an orchestral work. And so he was the one that said, you two need to go meet Judy Whitson. And so we did. And that is really where a deep awareness to this practice became kind of central in my life. I would say, however, that I didn't really get into the practice until I bought the book. And it was very intentional. Even though Judy, we would see her probably once a year, every time we came out to California from where we lived at the time in Maine. I remember being very intentional. Okay, I'm going to buy my own hardcover book of the course, and that's going to be my commitment, right? So even though it was on the bookshelf in my own house, it was like that time where I said, okay, now I really want to commit to this. So that's the general story of how I came to the course.
I love that sometimes you just have to separate and make it your own.
Yes. Yes.
Share it with someone else, even though you can participate in doing it with someone else.
I also have so much gratitude for the way that Judy would talk about it and talk about the course, and then how we would see different elements of that in our own life. And she would give us other books for free, like Never Forget to Laugh, check out this book. But it was really always, I needed to buy this book for myself and put my own commitment to it. There's something very deep about that.
Mm. And how did you feel your life change and evolve as you started integrating the principles from A Course in Miracles?
So I would say that it was truly the course that helped me find a really, really big forgiveness story. And it was through practicing the course that I got unstuck. So let me explain that. And I think there are forgiveness stories that we find ways to forgive other people, ways in which we've been wronged or we feel we've been attacked. But I think when we really go deeper into what the course is teaching us, we are attacking ourselves, and we have to change our perception around things. And so my forgiveness story is really about a life circumstance, not a person or not a place. And that life circumstance is really about myself, which is connecting with our true identity as being one with God and all of us. So in my background and upbringing, I am a classical musician, and music has always been a very, very deep part of my life since I was young. So my family was deeply connected with the church. My grandfather was a pastor. My father was a pastor. My mom was the organist and the choir director in a church. I would go home and I'd start playing on the piano what I heard at church. And so that was kind of just, oh, you have a gift. So I was a pianist. I played the clarinet. I went to college and had a degree in piano performance from a prestigious university. And I was so honored to be able to follow this path that was a gift. So I had this interpretation and approach that this was a gift that was given to me. I should use it to express it with other people. That was my form of expression, a form of creativity. And I really felt that when you get out of the way and let the music play you, that's when you're connected to something otherworldly, something beyond yourself. So I was very attached to this identity and very humbly, but attached. It gave me a sense of meaning and purpose in the world. And it was not about performance or the ego, because I truly loved the collaborative elements of music and in small chamber ensembles, that energy that comes when you're working with another person, but serving the music, if you will. But what happened was after I graduated and met my husband, and we performed all over the world, but I did not perform as much as he did. He had the career. He is much older than I am. And at a certain point, I did more in terms of managing his career. And I would perform only once or twice a year. I didn't teach because we were traveling a lot. So all of the skills that I felt I had been working my whole life toward and had been my identity were not really being used. And so a part of my creativity and self-expression I felt was lost. And there was a lot of upset around that. I would say probably even grief and lack of identity. And that was hard because I was also so grateful for such a beautiful life and we had amazing experiences. And when my husband retired, he basically my whole life, and I was only in my like 20s, kind of lost identity and purpose. Even though we're not just one thing, there was this attachment to a creativity of myself that was a part of my being, like who I am, that I had to re-identify and latch onto other things. So when I would go back to music and just play, I couldn't play just for myself because my identity was wrapped up in, well, if I am a musician, I have to play at this level that I had been at. So to just go back and play the piano was very unsatisfying because it wasn't as good as I expected it to be when I was at, kind of peak capabilities. So as we were transitioning, I needed to transition careers because this was the beginning of my adult life in many ways. And reading was a deep part of that. Traveling was a deep part of that. And also always touching base with Judy when we came out to see family was a part of that. So that transition really happened in like 2007 to 2009. And at that point, I had the book and I read the text. And when I would go into it and read the words, I would go to another place. I would connect back with that oneness that I knew from music. And I would connect into the elements that I could see my experience in church was connecting to, but I didn't connect all the way because there's an experience and then there's church and the machinations of it and the fellowship of it. But I didn't connect with that. There was something off. But when I read the course, I could come back to, this is what Jesus was saying when he says, forgive them for they know not what they do. And then I was able to unattach these notions of salvation, atonement, things that have very different meanings in Christianity and the church to what was reading in the course. And every time I read it in the course, it was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what it's really pointing to. So how does this come to changing my identity? I think one of the things that I just kept doing was saying, from one of the lessons, a quote: "What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom?" And every time I would get in this space of being caught, oh, you're a musician, you have to do this. No, no, no. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? This was kind of like the repeating pattern I would just keep going to. And that allowed me to gradually let go and say, I don't have to be a musician. I also do these things and these things. I actually am a well-rounded person. So that was one of the big transitions. And it was like, okay, now I can go work in the environmental movement. Okay, now I can go and become a web developer and work on websites and do them wherever I am. And so it truly was this practice of reading the course and going through the lessons that helped me forgive and re-identify with who I am. So I think one of the biggest transformations that happened on that was this concept of it's impossible to see two worlds. I was really stuck for a while, like, I'm a musician. This is who I am. And then it's like, oh no, I'm someone else. I can be more than that. And I really struggled. And then when I got to, I'm not that, my thinking reflects my choice of what you want to see, I can be just forgiven. I am perfect the way I am. And then you could let go and just see the world differently.
It's beautiful. And add to that, I guess, well, we can ask you that in the next question. I'm stepping back there, but really, really a very deep story of, it's very hard for me to say, I am the president of the Foundation for Inner Peace. I prefer to say I act as president. I can hardly say, I am Tam. I usually say my name is Tam because of all the traps that repeating that your profession is you or your name is you brings to it, that we really do need to unattach from in that identity sort of way. No, that is not my identity.
Right. And that identity was wrapped up in so much guilt, right? So much guilt. All these people helped give me these opportunities. I was able to go to college at a good school from, just a certain type of, that was just a big accomplishment. And, I was given all these opportunities, but I felt this guilt that, oh my gosh, I'm not using this. And all that guilt was wrapped up in the past. And the past is not who we are. And the course talks about there's no meaning except that which is in the present. And so I had to find a different way to relate and be in the present. And there's one more thing that I'd like to share that I just thought about yesterday, which was, and this is hard. I have this incredible partner, my soulmate. And I also struggled. I think we all grow and learn when we see other people. But I think that there was some challenge with, oh my gosh, why did my partner leave his profession when I'm wanting to do that? And so I was trying to solve it through him. And then at the same time, I would see the unconditional love that there are other things in life. But there was like this mirror to look into, and I'd be like, oh no, how come I'm not doing this in this circumstance externally? This person retired and I don't have a place anymore. And then it was like, nope, not about that. It's about me and my own perception and my attachment to the past through feeling guilty. And what a trap that is. And when I could do the lessons and practice, it's impossible to see two worlds. It's, that everything I have is meaningless. That was the way that I could just focus on not that, and connect with the present.
So I have a question for you in this. First of all, just for for anyone who's listening, what is the age difference between you and your husband? So it gives a context of where he was in life compared to where you were in life.
For sure. The context actually has some great numerology. So in music, we talk about vibration and sound and the music of the spheres, and the world is shaped the way it would sound. So our age difference is a Fibonacci number. And when we met, we were both Fibonacci numbers connected. So I was 21. We had a 34-year age difference, and he was 55 when we met. So it's a 34-year age difference. And when he retired, he had been performing for over 50 years. So he absolutely did his time and was extraordinary. So I didn't ever think, oh my gosh, you shouldn't retire. No, of course. Of course he should.
Yeah. Yeah. But you did give some of that up in service to that. And
yes.
It's the regrouping. Now, I know what art does for me. And I know the connection when I'm doing art of the rest of the world disappearing. It's what moves through me. As you said, the music plays you. And when I'm doing a sculpture, whatever I'm doing, it plays through me. And have you found another venue? Is it meditation, or I know, you go writing, that gives you a similar outlet feel to that? And is that still important for you, or is that something you chose to release as well?
A great question. I think it's evolving. I think that I went through a lot of healing, not just the course, but doing very specific practices, sometimes going to shamans, looking at changing consciousness, but also meditation. So I would say meditation is a place where I can lift out and step back, but that's not necessarily a creative expression. I do feel that another way, you have these different tools of when you are stuck. When you're stuck in the past, you don't have the right perception. You're moving through the ego and feeling less than loving and separate. So I'm kind of dodging your question, Tam, because I think a part of me is not fully expressing itself. However, I would say having a different understanding and being at peace with who I am, that I am not a body. I'm also not a musician. I'm just serving here on this planet right now. I'm just a being. That when I can be that peace, I can collaborate. One of my favorite quotes is like, our function is to work together, because apart from each other, we cannot function alone. So I think that when I'm able to step into vulnerability and I know nothing, in teamwork, in the work that we do here at the foundation, I find I can get into that space and new ideas arise that we hadn't thought of before. But I feel like it's more fleeting and it's harder to do for me personally, because words are not my strength. Music is my strength. It's wordless. It's a different type of symbolism. It's a different type of expression. But I do feel like the gifts from music and the way that I connect has transferred into other parts of my life. And doesn't that make one a more rounded person? I don't want to just be one thing.
Yeah. For me, my answer is you do what you're given to do. And some people do want to just do one thing. And some people have paths that take them away from the thing they think they love the most. I never expected to be the president of the Foundation for Inner Peace. I was a writer and an artist, and that is not what my mind wanted me to do. And yet, for me, I also had to, and it's just happening now, find a way to integrate my art back into my very busy daily schedule of working. And just, I'd love it if it's okay with you, to tell how you got to be the chief of product at Foundation for Inner Peace, and what that path was that brought you to all this, and this life instead of the life that you thought you were going to have.
Sure. I'm not sure to what depth you want me to go, but after I really went deep into the course and practicing the lessons and having a couple of key phrases that really helped me. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? Then I was able to let go of this personality of I'm a musician, I'm an arts manager, I work in supporting creativity and arts education. I really had to okay, where would you have me go? Okay, go see the career counselor at your alma mater and start all over again. And go to these free opportunities at a public library, which really seemed like such a step down. I had to really just be humble. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to work on websites because I can do that from anywhere, because we really value being able to travel. I know that was something that we had always loved to do, and I didn't want us to be pinned down to any one location. Also, there weren't many job opportunities where we lived in rural Maine on the coast. So that seems like a good way to be able to make ends meet and be anywhere. So I just did whatever I could to find different. But I definitely was on this path of I'm going to be a web developer. I'm going to do this. We happened to come out to California. I was connecting with meetups and starting to get jobs with other web developers. But also one day I just got a phone call from Judy. Judy said, "Can you help me?" But before that, we were house sitting in Mill Valley, and we came to lunch with Judy. And that day, you, Tam, happened to be there, and at the time, co-president Bob was also there. And it was the first time I was meeting him, and I thought, oh, wow, what a delightful being who's so joyful and curious. But it was my husband, who is very, very proud of his family, and he speaks about me more than I feel comfortable. And he said, "Oh, Tara can do anything to Tam." And Tam saw, okay,
Wait,
he needs to be
not
here.
Say that you could do anything to me. He said to me that you could do anything.
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Let me just drink more coffee and I'll get back on track. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, please. No, please, because I'm not sure which angle. You just show up.
The angle is how spirit works in the connection, especially in this particular way through the course. And I was sitting there hearing from your husband, Lauren, Tara can do absolutely anything. She's so competent. She's so amazing. And I glanced over at her and I heard so clearly, we need to hire her. And we have to bring her into the foundation. Now, we were very small, tiny organization at that point, and that was not what I was used to hearing or really wanting to hear. And I was co-president with Dr. Bob Rosenthal at that time, and I heard it, and he was very careful financially and very careful about bringing anyone in. And, I asked to do what? And I heard, it doesn't matter. We will guide her to her right place. And really, I heard, I will guide her to her right place, not meaning me, but the voice telling me this. And so after you left, I approached my mother and I said, "What do you feel about this?" And she closed her eyes and she said, yes. And then to manage the way through, I called Bob and said, we need to bring Tara on. And he said, what for? And I laughed inside, like, I don't know what anything is for. I just do what I'm told. And so I said, as an assistant to my mother and to you. And so he was like, oh, sure, I could use that. And it was funny because when I said it, I knew it wasn't true, but I wasn't lying. I was offering. And it was what carved a path into Tara coming in. And then she immediately kind of shifted to we thought we would have her be doing the archives, and it became so clear how indeed her husband was not wrong, her competency in so many areas, that it ended up being up to her pretty much where she landed and where she was so extraordinarily helpful. And there is a part of me in this conversation that actually hears my own guilt for keeping her from her music, even though we had nothing to do with that. But this is where, for the chorus, the chorus really needed what you bring, to bring us not only into the digital arena, which I just introduced us to, but to handling all the products and all the management that you do and crossing over in so many directions. I mean, we wouldn't have, our audio app if not for Tara, and so many other things along the way that she has knowledge of. At first, she was going to be the keeper of the knowledge of the Foundation for Inner Peace, and we thought that meant really going through the archives, but it really means she is an extraordinary keeper of the knowledge of how we move in the Foundation for Inner Peace, how we ask, how we move forward. She's extraordinarily committed to the vision of how we move with integrity over and over and over again. So that's what I wanted to bring to this, that, my attachment too is to art, and both of us doing these jobs that are way bigger in one way that we thought we would be doing. And in another way, it's the same service. It's the same expression.
Thank you so much, Tam, for that. That's beautiful. One of the things that I think about is we take each learning and deepening of our practice of letting go, of forgiving ourselves or our guilt that we wrap ourselves in, and we take those new perceptions into what we do. And I think I also take my experiences of making something beautiful and not being attached to it. Like you could be attached to how you perform. This is my interpretation, but I find the best when you're most connected to your art, you're just being played. You're not attached to it. And I think when you bring that to the practice of the course, we don't know what anything is for. How can we do what is meant to do and ask and not be attached to the answer? So I think there's a through line from that creativity, from that music, and I bring that into the next thing I'm doing. And right now it's here building an audio app and additional audios and, continuing print. So, but you connect with that intention of what is meant to arise. How can we get into that state of it's not my decision, it's what's meant to happen, and listening. I think that, and I just love to bring those experiences into the teamwork and the collaboration that we do here.
And I feel like sometimes, I'll project onto both of us because that's what we do. That our work wasn't cut out for us in the world of art. Which we did so fluidly and effortlessly, and for some reason, that was not what we were supposed to be doing. We were supposed to be doing something that actually makes us work and makes us grow in a different way that doesn't come so effortless, because of the lessons of bringing love into that part of our nature that we wouldn't have to in the other. At least not to say that a concert pianist isn't still doing the work. There's so many aspects in life in which you're given the work no matter what. But just something within this element where it's really like you're right in the fire in the heart of the foundation for inner peace, making sure that the things that irritate and aggravate come up so that they can be released.
Yes. And I think that working in words and in teams and in relationships, like you can do it, you can be at a distance and create this separation. Oh, it's just the music. But I think it's harder. I think you're exactly right that we need to take it at a different level, and do this work in collaboration with others. And I'm actually really grateful for the challenge. It's also uncomfortable sometimes, but that is beautiful. So I get frustrated, but thank goodness we have the course, and we can say, oh, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace.
Matt, what do you have to say about all this?
Well, I wanted to ask about the Fibonacci golden ratio thing, because I know just enough about that to feel like a little tickled. Like, wait, what is that? Like, tell me what, because that you're obviously better versed in that, and it means something. But what does it mean there? Because I know there's like a sequence of numbers, and he's like Italian mathematician, I think. But what does that mean? And what's the relationship with your husband and the number, and then did you say like the earth, and then its frequency? Or I think maybe I'm getting that right.
No, yeah. You're on the path. So, and it's been a little while, but my understanding, and there are whole books and details and depths that go into this, and lectures that my husband did, and we would write papers about it. But this is like a past life in many ways, because it's like 15 years ago that we were talking about it. But most simply, you have vibration and you have a pitch. And say you have a violin, okay? If you have a violin, a string length is a certain length. And when you call that 1, and then you break that into a ratio that is the Fibonacci ratio, you get a note that is a fifth higher than that original string. And then when you take that second ratio and you break it again in the ratio of the Fibonacci sequence, you get another note, which is in direct relationship. So for people who may know music, this creates the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths in music goes through all the different keys, and they are directly based on the Fibonacci sequence. So I think you might currently be located in Italy. The Vesuvian man, my Da Vinci, is based on the Fibonacci sequence, the ratio between your hand and your elbow and your hand all the way to your arm. These are all the sequences of the Fibonacci ratio. And so when you take these concepts of these ratios and relationships, you see them, if we see them in our body, we see them in nature, the shape of pineapple cones, and pine cones, the pineapple, all of these things are built off of this ratio, off of vibration. So we always would say, and I'm not sure who, this goes back centuries, the world is shaped the way it would sound. So there's your simple version, but you can go super deep, and I just find it fascinating and beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I don't know enough about it, but I'm sure there's a connection to that. And Helen's dictation as it moved into iambic pentameter and calling the course a symphony.
Yes. Yes, I think about that a lot.
I intuitively feel like there's some deep connection, profound connection there, that it harmonizes with that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's crazy. I could go so deep on this stuff. It's so interesting. I know also when a stock goes up a certain amount or down a certain amount, they say like it's doing a Fibonacci correction. Like it's not always random. They overlay this Fibonacci and they say it's going to correct it here. And I'm like, what is going on here? I do not understand the software of this world at all, but it seems to have some consistency most of the time, not all the time. It's crazy. That is really interesting stuff. So wait a second, this final question on that. So the Earth does have a sound then, like a pitch?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think people take this to all different layers of depth.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I think we try and make meaning on top of things. So, but you can go very deep. But I think about the Big Bang. That is like we're expanding. It's like all a vibration. I think one other thing, I don't remember this in detail. There's a great scientist who would put on like drums or timpanis, sand, and they would hit the drum and it would make these vibrations, and the sand on the top of the drum would make these shapes that would look like embryos, and it was all based on vibration. You tap the drum, it makes this vibration, and then it makes these shapes that you see in nature. So that's why we say that vibration and the world is shaped the way it would sound.
Crazy.
That totally hits something in my past where I used to teach blind children how to sense color through their hands. And they each one did it according to their own interests. For instance, a little girl who loved food, when she put her hand over yellow, she felt the taste of lemon, or red would be cherry, or, things like that. But there was one little boy who was this phenomenal musician, and he would ride his bicycle around his neighborhood, and he was completely blind. People would watch out for him, but he got to know how to do it. But when I started to do this teaching with him, every color had a different vibration. So yellow was very fast and fluid, and red was full of passion, and he would describe the vibrations that each color had in terms of music. Where he'd even play it to me. He played the drums, so he would play the rhythm of what he would feel when he'd put his hand over a specific color, so that he could differentiate. He learned to differentiate colors through his own sense of music and vibration.
Wow.
So I think it is all connected.
It's all connected. I think that's so beautiful. I think for me, it's funny. I find that when I'm stuck, it's actually helpful to talk to people, although I'm not the type of person who connects deeply in study groups with the course, although I did do that in the past when I lived in Maine. But it's always been for me a self-study book. But I've been so grateful to connect more and more with course students. And when I'm stuck, I talk to people and they help me see. But and I don't like to say I pray to Jesus or I ask Holy Spirit. I don't talk to Jesus, and then maybe that's still a layer of vulnerability that I need to tap into eventually, but I'm not going to judge that. But when I get connected, I connect through this experience that's got like this vibration. And so I think we have these senses that connect us to oneness. So whether it's through, you don't use your eyesight, but you have eyesight through a different sense. Is that not how spirit comes through us? Is that not how Ellen connected and scribed the course?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to touch into and tap into.
Yeah. And when you say that, it suddenly makes me feel like, God, if you were just the pianist, not that you would ever just be that, but it almost could have been a crutch from this deeper understanding.
Yes. Yes.
No.
No, but I think you're right, because we're not just one thing. And I think that's the freedom. And I think that's very hard sometimes in the American culture and dream of you go to school, you get a job, you get a degree, you get a career, and that's who you are. But the statistics are we're going to change careers all the time, many times in our life. It's very different than it was a century ago. But how do we move through those transitions when we've culturally been raised a certain way? I'm just incredibly grateful for the course to help me through those paths and those transitions. And I think it does bring a greater depth to
even being fired or retired brings now. What do I do now? And it, if you're a course student, it really becomes helpful to know where your true anchoring is throughout it.
Exactly.
So, okay, Matt.
Well, Tara, when you get caught in an ego storm and just totally wrapped around the axle and things don't seem to be working, there's no flow, it just seems like a block. Is there anything practically you do to get back on track and centered?
She never has that.
Very funny, Tam. I never get frustrated with my colleague, dear Tam. Never. I have a couple of things that I do. I guess they're shortcuts, right? One of them is I'll stop and I'll take 1 minute to do 5 deep breaths, hold on the inhale, hold after the exhale. And it's amazing how when you do that, time seems like a minute seems really long, but it shifts you into a different place. Also, just breathing does. The other thing I have is I don't necessarily go from one lesson to the other lesson. It's always been, I'm going to do this lesson how long it takes, and then I'll turn the page and I'll do the next lesson. So I often have just quotes that I will remember and say, oh, I must have decided wrongly because I'm not at peace. And the other one in the course practice is choose once again, right? All those references that are in the course and in that last chapter, choose once again. It's like, oh, I must have chosen wrongly because I'm trying to do it on my own, but I need to choose this. Let God choose this for me, and that I choose it with him. So those are those things. And then also I will call someone and say, I'm stuck on this. How can you help me see this a different way?
It's really fun to know someone in advance before the podcast because I can call out stuff that Tara doesn't necessarily recognize.
Aren't you lucky, Tara?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Totally, sure. Anyway, one of Tara and my challenges sometimes is that I'm a visionary and she's a pragmatist. And the bridge that she fabulously offers of how to get from where we are to what my vision tells us we need to be at. And it can be a daunting challenge. But there are many ways when I have found Tara to be frustrated that the answer that seems to always work is stop work and go take a bike ride.
That is true.
I like that.
Yes.
And it's like a different person comes back.
It's absolutely
now maybe
true.
she's doing her whole practice on the bike, but to just stop with all the work in the head and what's going on for her is incredibly, it seems to be really helpful to watch her, who she is when she comes back from being in Hawaii, going to the ocean or taking a bike ride.
Yes. Yeah, it is. You have to have these techniques to get out of your head. And sometimes breathing and meditating is not enough. And so moving your body, and I happen to love mountain biking. That is truly, it helps shift me.
So,
well, before we get to your favorite comfort food, Tara, I want to ask, what you think is the most inspiring classical music piece that maybe we could leave in the show notes for people that aren't familiar with classical music but would like to hear something good?
Ooh, there's a twist.
Wow, that is a twist. I love that question. Thank you so much. Well, I'll give 2. How about that? We'll pick a work of piano, and then we'll do a symphonic work. So, all right, nope, I got to give you 3. So my childhood love, where I can remember from being a kid and even later on, is Copland's Appalachian Spring. I would dance to that in my room and the door closed like a crazy woman and crazy kid. That piece is, to me, transformational. It is full of so much beauty, and it takes you on a journey. I would say one of the works that I've really loved of piano later in life is the Schubert Sonata in B flat major. It's absolutely extraordinary. It takes an arc of amazing, amazing depth. And then I would also say, in love and gratitude for my husband, who's a huge fan of Gustav Mahler. Any one of Mahler's symphonies from 1 through 6 are beautiful, but I would say the 3rd symphony of Mahler is quite extraordinary.
Oh, good.
I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna put that in the show notes for everybody.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
All right, now, Tara, here it is. What is your favorite comfort food?
Okay, I love this question. And I have been listening to the Miracle Voices podcast for a while, so I did have some time to think about this, but not too deeply. And I have to go seasonally. So here in Northern California, it's gotten a little bit cooler and it's feeling very much like fall. So one of my favorite comfort foods is red lentil soup with a lot of Indian spices. So it's like a red lentil curry with ginger and garlic and all those good Indian spices with some coconut milk. That is a comfort food I could eat multiple times a week. But I probably wouldn't have it in the middle of summer.
Okay. Do you eat a sourdough with that or anything?
No.
Just by itself solo.
Just all by itself. I mean, it wouldn't be the only thing I'd have for a meal because I need some vegetables too.
Yeah.
But
again, you can say no, Tara. I'm going to shortcut this as well. When I see her agitated and we're having a lunch meeting, I know to give her chocolate. It helps tremendously. But I have seen on a daily basis that her comfort food is a cup of coffee.
Yes,
hey,
absolutely. Yes, I thought you were going to say coffee in the afternoons when we're in meetings that go long. It's both chocolate and coffee.
Yeah.
Tara, have you ever seen Tam carry around this flask of cream she talks about?
It's not. Well, maybe.
Whoa, I don't.
No, I want to see this fabled thing. It's like Bigfoot.
Because when I see Tara, I'm mostly home, in the office, so it's already here.
Okay.
It's not.
And I also drink coffee black, so Tam probably hasn't had a need to show this to me.
Yeah, no, it's even more kind of elusive.
With you, I would.
Yeah.
Well, Tara, thanks so much for coming on Miracle Voices and sharing your miracle voice. Is there any place we should point listeners if they want to connect with you at all?
Well, thanks for asking. First of all, it's my pleasure to be on Miracle Voices. And I would just say, go to acim.org. And if you want to contact me, there's a contact form and it'll get to me somehow, some way.
Okay.
And you'll see her all over the place, not by face, but by what you're seeing when you go there.
And I love the audio app. People haven't checked that out. It's really helpful. And it's very great UI and everything. So well done on that.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
And before that, the web edition, we would not have the web edition without Tara.
I use that daily. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
I love that.
I just have to say, in the spirit of ensemble, it's all about collaboration. And there's not any one person who made any of those, but we do that as a team. And I feel so much gratitude to have been a member of the team that helped guide those works, and we will continue to do so to make the course more available in all the different forms that are helpful to people.
Yeah.
And Danish is on the way.
I would say that about each of the team members. We wouldn't have it without them.
Yes.
Yes, our function is to work together, as you said.
Yep.
That's right.
To be.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our symphony.
Well, thank you again, Tara. That was wonderful. And it was long overdue, so I'm so glad we got the chance.
I do too as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening today. Please subscribe to Miracle Voices by hitting the subscribe button on your podcast app. If you are enjoying these conversations, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you use. And lastly, please visit us at miraclevoices.org and join our newsletter so we can stay connected. Until the next podcast, I want to leave you with my favorite course quote: "When you want only love, you will see nothing else."